You mentioned earlier source of income legislation. Grandview doesn't have anything on the books. I know Bexley recently passed it. I think Columbus City, maybe other places. Can you give us, this is something we want to talk about more in Grandview. This is something that we'd love to see actually come before council at some point. So just from your perspective, can you give us a little bit of a explanation of what it is and why it matters, especially for people who maybe aren't familiar with the nature of the problem?
So thank you for asking about source of income. Today, in many parts of the region, and you're right, Columbus, Bexley, Westerville, and Reynoldsburg have already passed ordinances to protect people from discrimination based on their source of income. Sources of income could include alimony, child support, if you're disabled and you have Social Security, disability income that helps you pay the rent. If you're a veteran and you have what's called a VASH certificate that helps you pay the rent. If you're receiving rental support, either as a housing choice voucher or other public or private sources, landlords could say, oh, yep, that's legal income, but we're not going to count it. We don't want that we don't want to take it. And we believe that's wrong, that if you're in business as a landlord, because it is a business, whether you own 1 unit or 10,000 units, you have certain rules that you need to comply with about non-discrimination, fair housing. And one of those should be accepting legal sources of income to pay the rent. And that even if it involves being part of a program where you have to sign a lease addendum to accept this tenant and have your unit inspected, that those are small barriers, small prices to pay to ensure that people are not discriminated against because of their source of income. In cities and states that have adopted this type of protection, access to housing is significantly increased for people who have these types of income. So it makes a big difference. We'd love to see Grandview do what's been done in other parts of the community. There are landlords in Grandview who have rents that are within what's called the payment standards for accepting a housing voucher from, for example, that Metropolitan Housing Authority. This would enable families to access the benefits, as you've described it, of living in a wonderful community like Grandview. The city of Worthington introduced their ordinance this past Monday, and they're slated to have a public hearing and hopefully a vote on July 19th. There's 2 other communities right now that are considering this type of protection. So hopefully Grandview and your next door neighbor, Upper Arlington, will consider this as well and protect people from discrimination, even if it's a few. One of the things we'll hear about places like Grandview is, oh, well, we have so little rental housing. Will it really make a difference? Yes, it does. It's making a statement that we do want to be an inclusive community. And so, Bexley's a good example. Rents are higher here, but there are landlords that have now been willing to open their doors and accept the vouchers. And the value of the vouchers continues to change. It's been going up. So that should not be the reason that a community says, well, we don't want to legislate.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think regardless of the size and the number of rental units, the difference that it can make in one family, even just numerically, as you've said, is so significant that we're talking about. I think we really have to constantly go back to this idea that, when the tide rises, all the ships rise with it type of thing. Like we are in a community that we are impacted by the lives all around us, and by supporting and helping us lift the lives of other people, it's going to lift our own in our community and all the resources that become available. So I think it's really important, and a worthwhile conversation